to our webinar. I would just ask that everybody please turn your audio and video off. And we've got an introduction from the minister.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm very disappointed we couldn't be in person to see the presentations and to have the dialogue that we're so famous for in our department and with the industry as we work together to grow Nova Scotia seafood. It's exciting to be in the seafood business in Nova Scotia. For 5 years in a row now, we've been leading export province in Canada by far. And indeed, we've set ourselves aside as being a premium seafood supplier from Canada to all over the world. And we're very proud of the work we've done in conjunction with the industry to make that happen. 2020 has seen us a drop in our export sales, slightly, but compared to other provinces and other countries, we've done extremely well. And I want to give full credit to that to our seafood industry. They're very innovative, responsive, and hardworking people that have indeed ensured that they've survived, and not only survived, but done quite well during this time. As we move forward with our seafood industry in Nova Scotia, it's important to keep in mind all the many people that work in our industry. And the approximately 18,000 people that directly work in the industry, and thousands more that provide spin-off employment for them in rural communities. It's a huge economic benefit to the province. And being the province's biggest exporter, it is the biggest revenue generator in the province. Many people forget that, but we need to remind them. I would like to thank our sponsors for our digital series, Farm Credit Canada, the Nova Scotia Fisheries and Aquaculture Loan Board, Martech for this particular session, and the Business Development Corporation. Thank you very much for your sponsorship. These programs couldn't be possible without them. I'm going to think that you're going to find this really interesting, the shore-based seafood industry technology, innovation, and value, and opportunities to improve your operations. I know our industry has really changed its tone in the last few years and really gone towards innovation. And I'm sure that you'll find some new things here today. This panelist here has been well-versed in leading technology and developing new technology. To help hopefully address some of the labor shortage, traceability, quality control, and food safety issues, and some others too that we haven't addressed in the past. I'd also like to thank the Nova Scotia Seafood Alliance for putting this system and this program together today. This is the first time it's been done by our commercial fishing industry, and I'm pleased to see that happening as we build more partnerships and more ability to work together. It helps us all. And indeed, I want to thank them for the great work they're doing in organizing their processors, as many other people are in the province. Thank you from the province of Nova Scotia. I now want to hand this over to our moderator, Peter Noseworthy. Peter comes with a great deal of experience in the fishing industry and a great deal of knowledge. And I want to thank Peter personally for taking this task on. And with those few words, I want to say thank you and look forward to hearing these presentations and the questions that will follow. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Minister, for that kind introduction, and welcome all to our webinar this afternoon. I'm Peter Noseworthy from Pisces Consulting, and just want to go through a few housekeeping issues regarding the webinar. All participants will have their audio and video turned off during the webinar. Hopefully only the active speaker will show up on your screen. If at any time you would like to ask a question during a presentation, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You can click on that and type in your question, and there will be a question period to address those questions that we receive at the end of each presentation. And if we get too many questions, of course, we will get back to you on some of those after the session. We have a number of sponsors today. We've got the Farm Credit Canada and the Nova Scotia Fisheries Loan Board, who has a short video.
The Fisheries and Aquaculture Loan Board provides financing for fishers and for businesses, for folks wanting to enter the industry, for new entrants, and really anyone who doesn't have the ability to get financing through a traditional commercial bank.
We really are here to support the fisheries and aquaculture industry, and we really want to have a vibrant rural community in Nova Scotia.
I've known of the Fisheries Loan Board pretty well ever since they've been in business. I've been working personally with them since 2000, so 21 years.
To have the same clients coming back because they put their faith in us to be able to finance their projects, to be able to help them through whatever they're going through. There's difficult times sometimes in the industry, and we're here to support them and work through it with them.
They know the industry. They're a fisherman's loan board. They know the fishermen, they know the industry.
You get to know the fishermen, you know their families, you talk to them, you know how their businesses work, and to see them succeed is what we're there for.
It's really fantastic to hear the success stories, to be able to go out and see their enterprises and what they're building and what they have brought back to their communities.
We have long-term interest rates, which really help the fisher. It lowers their payments. We support them from the beginning of their start in the industry right through to existing fishers who are looking to buy new boats, new licenses.
Whatever we need, they will talk to us, and if they can help us, they will.
When you have a young fisher who has worked on the back of the boat, they've saved their money for a deposit, they apply to the board, it's their dream to own their own fishing enterprise, and when their loan gets approved, to see them start their career in the fishing industry, it's very rewarding.
Okay, and we do have some panelists here today that we'll introduce later, but I think you will find their presentations quite relevant and very interesting. We do have a couple of other sponsors, including Maritech.
Maritech is a leading provider of software solutions to the largest seafood companies worldwide. We know seafood, and we know its challenges. We create software with the scent of seafood. Digital Seafood is our cloud portfolio of tools supporting your value chain. An open, best-of-breed solution built on the latest technologies tailored for the seafood industry that easily integrates with your existing solutions. Digital Seafood supports your operational processes, gives insight, offers easy ways to collaborate and control margins and quality across the value chain. You fully control and trace seafood from origin all the way to market. We create digital seafood tailor-made for the seafood industry.
And we also have the Business Development Bank of Canada is one of our sponsors, and Danny Connors is with us today. He's the Business Center Manager leading BDC's mid-market team in Nova Scotia. He's based in Halifax, and Danny's team provides flexible financing for solutions and practical advice to clients across the province of Nova Scotia. Danny's had 15 years of commercial banking experience and is proud to help all small and medium-sized businesses realize their potential. I'll turn it over to you, Danny, for a few words.
Thank you, Peter. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As Peter mentioned, my name's Danny Connors with BDC, and as he said, I'm the Business Center Manager for mid-market businesses here in Nova Scotia. Really glad to be here on behalf of the BDC team today. Our team has extensive experience working with clients in the fisheries, and we're honored to sponsor today's session. For those of you who don't know us, BDC is the bank for Canadian entrepreneurs. We provide financing and advice for businesses of all sizes and help them grow and help them succeed. Today's topic is an important one for the processing sector. With the COVID-19 pandemic, the past year has been very challenging for business owners. And as we move towards a recovery phase in the months ahead, now is a great time to plan for the future. COVID-19 has accelerated the need for companies to take advantage of technology By adopting new technology, you position your business to adapt to the changing needs of global customers and stay one step ahead of the competition. With BDC, you don't have to solve all these solutions on your own. BDC Advisory Services is our consulting arm. We have programs in place to help you adopt technology, boost operational efficiency, and meet the demands of today's customers. If you have any questions or if you'd like to have a conversation about your business, please feel free to reach out to me or to any of my colleagues. Well, Peter, I'm excited to hear from the panel, and I just want to thank Perennia for an opportunity to speak here today. Back to you, Peter.
Yes, thank you very much, Danny. I wanted to speak a few words regarding the session today. It's called Advances in Seafood Industry Technology, Addressing Challenges Through Modernization. Now, that's certainly a mouthful, but I think it adequately meets the objective of what we want to do today is really introduce you to some technologies you may not be familiar with and speak to you about the importance of modernization in the seafood business. It's certainly my hope that the panelists expand your understanding of the technologies and how they've changed in recent years and continue to change very quickly now, and how technology can prepare you to remain competitive in the future. As you all know, seafood is a globally competitive business, and that's certainly demonstrated by the fact of how many countries most of us service, and by the international investment that we see all the time in mergers and acquisitions in the seafood business. It very much has become a very international business, and a lot of technological solutions can come from Canada as well as abroad, and many of those companies, such as Maritech, have representation in Canada at their offices, as well as other places around the globe. So even the service providers now have become quite global. I would like people to keep in mind as we go through the session that we're all familiar with the regular challenges you see, or the business disruptors you see every day, which might be changes in shore price, changes in market price, changes in trade agreements that certainly affect your business. But the ones I would like people to try and think about today are the ones that creep up on us, ones that have changed slowly over time, which are really the ones that are affecting the future of our business. And you will hear some terms today like IoT, which is the Internet of Things, which is the connectability of various technologies, and artificial intelligence, or AI. And that's really interpretation of all this data into an intelligent system, much as you see, on ads that pop up when you're going through Facebook or any of your web browsers. Keep in mind that those ads are customized to you based on your previous web browsing history. So that's very much applied artificial intelligence that markets to you, which is just that marketing now through web-based platforms is a $300 billion a year business. So AI has become very advanced very quickly, along with all of the advances in communications and internet technology. Anyway, I think you'll find that a lot of the information you'll hear from our panelists today will help you with your current challenges, your labor shortages and traceability requirements from many of the regulators and countries and clients, as well as some things to enhance the quality of your product and control of that quality and food safety. Anyway, that's enough for me. I'll move on to our first speaker. He's Philip Nickerson of Aqua Production Systems. Philip is an aquaculture engineer and the founder and president of Aqua Production Systems. Some days he's known as Aquaman, and other days as the efficiency guy. But Philip has certainly brought hands-on experience in the marine fish farming sector to the lobster holding systems, tanks, and designs. The designs and technology that he's provided to the lobster industry have really set a new bar in terms of reducing lobster mortalities and providing more success in shipping live lobster from Nova Scotia to all the distant locations where live lobster are shipped currently. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Philip.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Let's get to the screen share going here. Okay, thanks for the intro, Peter. And we're going to talk about lobster holding technology, modern technology in 2021. And just wanted to say, like, our vision at Aqua Production is to add value to the lobster industry by addressing the dead loss that happens between anywhere from the boat to the market overseas. Excuse me. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to go over some fundamentals of water quality quickly, and then show some real world data of the systems that we have been putting together. I'm going to answer a few of the common questions that I get from those in the industry. And then I have just a set of slides on various new technology that's been put into place in the industry lately. So let's get right into the water quality. The three secrets really to successful live holding of lobster is high oxygen, clean water, and cold water. And we're going to go back to those a few times today, but those are really the three secrets. And I've got in caps with exclamation marks in the crate, because we often see great measurements wherever there's a piece of open water, but how do we know the lobster in the crate is getting the water quality he needs? And so when we say high oxygen, clean water, and cold water, we're talking about every lobster in every tank in your facility needs to get those three things. And of course, we have to mention as well the importance of a high degree of care when you're handling or grading your lobster. So this is the table right out of the Nova Scotia Seafood Brand Manual of what they consider to be the acceptable range of a bunch of different water quality parameters. And the optimal range, I added this part where it says for local markets, and added a column of what we consider to be optimal for global markets. So when we design a tank that we know this lobster are going to be shipped overseas from, this is what we're aiming for down here. And I understand you'll be able to get a copy of the slides later, so I'm not going to go through each one here, but you're certainly able to get your hands on this at a later date if you want to see it. I'm just going to go over a few of the highlights from it. The ammonia level when you're purging, we always recommend keeping below 1 and long-term holding below 0.5. And I fully realize that 0.6 isn't going to kill a lobster, but what we're trying to do is when we get to 0.5 is when we react. So your ammonia gets up to 0.5, we need to add some water, take out some lobster, do something to remedy that situation before it creeps up to 1, 1.5, and gets out of hand and so on. Oxygen levels, and I really stress this with everybody, you can't put enough emphasis on this benchmark of 95%. Oxygen is probably the biggest killer of lobster in our industry. We've seen dramatic changes in tanks by fixing it, not only in the dead loss, but in being able to ship lobster that maybe were not considered A grade to wherever you want. Seeing lobster heal because of the additional oxygen in the tank. And seeing just the cleanliness of the lobster coming out. You'll see how lobster have they have kind of brushes along their claws and their feet, not the claws so much, but their feet, and they're always kind of going like this to their antennas and their carapace. when the oxygen's good and the water quality is good, they come out clean because they're self-cleaning. But if they're coming out dirty, it's usually a sign of low oxygen because they're conserving energy and not cleaning themselves. And so that's one indication you can use to know if oxygen's your problem, besides actually measuring it in a crate. So if you're measuring outside of the crate and you have low oxygen, you know you have a big issue because it's going to be 5 to 10% less actually in the crate, or the tube or the tray, whatever it happens to be. So again, we want to get that cold water, clean water, high oxygen in every crate, every tube, every tray where the lobster are. And I've added this benchmark as well for power consumption for holding lobster. I've seen quite a range of power use if you do the cost per pound. 2.5 cents a pound is really where we're running now. That means a 100,000 pound tank will consume about $2,500 a month if it's done efficiently and well. So moving on to some real world data. This is 3 graphs from a system that ran mid-May to mid-October last year, 2020. 120,000 pound shower system that was full. I'm not sure if it was full the whole 6 months, but for a good portion of it. And just want to demonstrate that this is what other people in the industry are achieving. So ammonia is never hitting 0.5 for those 6 months of holding. Water temperature, there's some variation, but really it's consistent below 35, maybe 33 to 34 right through. And same with pH, it's just consistent right through. And because of that, this customer takes the lobster out of the shower system, puts them right in the box. They're coming out clean, so they're not going through the stage of giving them a bath and cleaning them out again before they ship them. They're just right in the box, 66 hours to their market, door to door. And they called this year to, as I've got written there, to thank us, saying that they made money this year and didn't write any mortality claims. So that's the benchmarks that we're setting. So moving on to some of the burning questions, I guess. I get this one a lot: a tank or shower system, which is best? And I've put some pros and cons of each here for you to consider if that's a question you have. But ultimately, bottom line I've got written there, the lobster doesn't care as long as he gets those 3 things: high oxygen, clean water, cold water. So we have to design the system a little different depending on whether it's a tank or a shower to make that happen, but it can happen in either case. The thing to focus on is how you're going to get that oxygen, clean water, and cold water to the lobster. And similar question, well, should I use trays in the tank, or totes or crates or tubes, whatever it is? And again, some pros and cons there. But ultimately, the lobster does not care as long as he gets those 3 things: high oxygen, clean water, and cold water. And like you can see there, some of the comments that totes and trays are prone to circulation issues. Well, if you're not mixing your water, you're not going to get that clean water or that high oxygen to the product. So that's one of the things we work on is tank hydraulics and mixing, just to make sure every part of the tank is getting the water quality that the lobster needs to thrive. Okay, so we're going to move on to some new tech. And I've got, 8 or 10 of these slides. Again, emphasis on oxygen, and it's really one of the cheapest things you can fix. It gives you the biggest advantage. Bubble curtains are a way to make sure that you're getting oxygen throughout the tank. And what that is, it's literally just a curtain of fine bubbles rising through your tank. Why do we want fine bubbles as opposed to big ones? Because the finer ones, if you have the same volume of air and the bubbles are smaller, there's exponentially more surface area. And that's really where the gas transfer happens, the oxygen into the water, the carbon dioxide out of the water. So the more surface area you have, the stronger your oxygen level will be throughout the tank. And smaller bubbles also have more drag per volume, so they rise slower through the water, and they'll move more water with them. And I have actually a video here to show you the difference. These two tanks are identical size, identical blowers. The only difference is that the one on the left has the bubble curtains installed. And when we play it, you'll see that the one on the right has kind of the conventional setup of a hole drilled in the pipe every so often. So there's big bubbles coming quickly to the surface in points, and then other parts with nothing happening. Whereas on the left, you have the whole curtain bringing moving water and oxygen through the tank. Just a 14-second video here. You can see there's just so much more movement on the tank on the left, and much better coverage of oxygen in the tank. And again, same size blower, same size tank. Okay, so another question that comes up a lot recently is what refrigerant to use. Because of global warming potential of refrigerants, many have been phased out. There's a list here: R22, 404, 507 have all been phased out as of January 1st, 2020, which means all new equipment cannot use them. And the side effect, of course, is that the price of that refrigerant has tripled. So even if you have old equipment using them and you get a leak, it's going to cost you a lot more now to maintain them. And really, they want the regulators are pushing for you to, instead of putting the same gas back in, putting in an alternative. But the alternatives have their own challenges. They're also pricey, similar to the $25 per pound range of the other gases now. And then there's blends. Most of them are made up of 4 or 5 other refrigerants, which means they have glide. And we're not going to get into what that is, but it affects your performance to a degree. So if you replace old refrigerant with new, you might have a change in performance. And then the key thing I want you to take away from this is when you're selecting a chiller now, you have to ask these questions and make sure that whatever gas is being used, by gas I mean refrigerant, it's going to be available down the road for you. If you ever had a leak and need to do a repair, you need to know the parts and the refrigerant are going to be available. There's just a myriad of new refrigerants out there now, and it's hard to say at this point which ones are going to stick. So an alternative to all those blends is what we call natural refrigerants, and carbon dioxide, which is CO2, and ammonia are the two big ones in that field that have been embraced. They're actually much cheaper per pound as a gas, so if there's a leak, to replace them is much less costly, and they have very little global warming potential, or none in the case of ammonia. So there may be an environmental card there for you to play when you're marketing that you're using a more environmentally conscious refrigerant, and there's no worry about phase out dates. So that's a new alternative. Moving on, so flow meters, and this is just one of the ones that excite me a bit, but the paddle wheel flow meters have always been a pain to deal with, because the paddle goes in the stream of water, spins the water spins the paddle, and a little piece of dirt comes by and plugs it off, and then you have to take it out, clean it, stick it back in, and it's just a pain and a maintenance issue, to the point where people stop cleaning them, and then water balancing doesn't happen. Well, the issue with not knowing your water flow rates really shows up in the summertime on your heat recovery. If you don't get those flows matched up, coming in and coming out of your tank through the heat exchanger, you can really drive your power bill up. So we've been using ultrasonic flow meters that strap onto the pipe and not actually touch the water. A lot more precise and never need cleaning. And the payback, like I said here, is it's about 1 month of the cost of chilling the water that you wouldn't get cooled by your heat recovery otherwise. Okay, so sticking with heat recovery, we've had these 4 or 5 years now, the clean plate, we call it. But it's a way to keep your plate exchanger clean. So even if you filter the water going to the plate exchanger, there's so much nitrates and phosphates and all kinds of basically fertilizer for bacteria and algae going through the plate exchanger with their small clearances. They plug up and get dirty, and anyone who has one is familiar with this kind of performance. So the orange line here would be the conventional cleaning method. So you start with a clean exchanger, it gets dirty, dirtier, stops working. You start noticing your temperature climbing, so you clean it. Same thing happens again, and this period of time could be 1 week to 2 weeks, sometimes a month, depending on your location and how many lobster are in the tank and so on. And this blue line would be with the clean plate. It just keeps it clean all the time. So what it does, it doses an iodinated resin into the plate exchanger at a regular interval and just keeps any bacteria or algae from ever being able to adhere to the plates and grow and plug off your exchanger. So you always are running at 100% in your heat exchanger, 100% clean. The ROI approximately break even on your labor savings. You can again use it in your marketing as an environmental point, environmentally friendly option. Keeps bleach from being in your facility around your lobster when there's lobster in the tank, which is always a bit of a risk. And then there's the big energy savings. In most systems, the plate exchanger is capable of doing as much cooling as the chillers once you get down to temperature in terms of BTUs. So this difference between the blue line and the yellow line, that's what you're given to the power company. It means you're running your chiller instead of your plate exchanger. Okay. So alarms, there's a lot of different options in this field lately, I find, but the smart water alarm that we're using, there's an app on your phone. It's interactive. You can tell, not only get an alarm, but you can tell who cleared it or who slept through it. You can see a history of, okay, didn't that happen last week? Well, you can go back and check, and it gives you a lot more information. And one of the powerful things about the system we're using is you can add an alarm without running any wires. It's a wireless system, and it also runs off Ethernet and cell phone tower, so you're not reliant on just your landline for an alarm. You have a backup on that as well. And with the amount of money that's in a tank these days, an alarm system is a no-brainer, really. It goes without saying, unless you're going to live right there. Okay, I'm going to move on to filtration. This is actually what Peter mentioned when he invited me to speak and to share some of the modern technology we're using. Typically, if there's a filter on the tank, the water is pumped out of the tank into the filter. The problem with that scenario is if you take a big particle and you run it through a pump, it doesn't come out as a big particle. It comes out as 100 or maybe more small particles. And as the particles get smaller, they're harder then for you to take out. You need a better filter or more filters to take out smaller particles. And they can start getting down to the point where they get lodged in the gills of the lobster and become a stressor for the product. And then if they don't come out and they start settling in the corner of the tank or somewhere at the bottom of the tank, now you're providing an anaerobic environment for geosmin and other bacteria that give lobster meat an off flavor, like the earthy, muddy flavor That's actually a bacteria in a dirty tank that causes that. So the alternative is to remove particles before they get pumped, and drum filter, parabolic filter, swirl filter. There's a few options. The drum filter is what's pictured here. The water actually flows through the filter, through gravity, before it gets pumped back to the tank. And so we're able to keep the tank much cleaner because we're treating and much more efficiently because we're treating larger particles. Biofilters, there's been some advances there, and this is really just ripped straight out of aquaculture. Almost all the new facilities are using, when it comes to fish farms, are using moving bed bioreactors, which is a biofilter that keeps itself clean. There's really no regular maintenance to it. So you don't get that rotten egg smell when you try to clean it every year, like you would with a gravel bed or some of the other options that are out there. And it's gravity fed, so again, keeps your energy cost down. Similar lines, instead of a biofilter, there's now a mechanical treatment available for ammonia. So it really doesn't matter what the level of ammonia is going in. It comes out at zero. It actually converts the ammonia straight to nitrogen gas, which allows it to bubble off. And if you've worked with biofilters, you know they're susceptible to different temperatures. They act differently at different temperatures. This doesn't. It's mechanical. It doesn't care what the water temperature is. It'll work right from day one. It doesn't need 6 weeks to ramp up and get established and so on. And this, I think, is my final one. So this is a well-established technology in the residential well pump industry, and I actually have it in my house. It's about 30 years old now. The water in the well is 60 feet down from the surface, but the pump is in the basement. So how do you suck water up 60 feet? Physically, the laws of physics would say that's not possible. But the way you get around it is, instead of sucking, they're actually pumping down in a circle through a venturi that's in the well. So there's no moving parts in the well. There's no submersible well pump with a 600-volt line run down in the well to fry the motor if there's any issue with the seal and so on. But the application for this would be if you have a seawater well, or you're drawing out of the Bay of Fundy and you're tired of trying to service a pump that's out in the water or down a well. This is an option that just keeps all the moving parts and the electricity out of the water and up on the shoreline. So that was it, and I just thank you all for listening and attending. And as a thank you, if you go to our website here at the bottom, aquaproduction.ca/water audit, you can sign up for a free consultation. We'd be happy to talk to you about your tank and how you can achieve that clean water, cold water, and high oxygen for your lobster. We'll take any questions.
Yeah, Philip, there was one question I guess people are having is whether the presentations are going to be available. And I understand that Perennia will have those posted on their website at some point after our session today. So I would say give it a week or so and you should be able to download any of those presentations. But Philip, how many lobster holding systems have you designed or installed now?
I've lost count. We've been doing this for 10 years, really. Before that, I was working at a halibut farm and in Clark's Harbor, surrounded by lobster facilities. And one day, a subcontractor asked me to visit one next door, just measure their oxygen for them and see what the problem was. And that's how I got into solving the lobster industry issues.
And you showed a slide that you've got these sensors all tied into systems that can report any number of different ways, including to your cell phone. And I guess for those operators who have adopted that, how valuable is that real-time feedback been to them? got any anecdotes you could pass on about times it's saved them, a tank full of lobster?
Well, as an alarm system, it would definitely do that. So we've had a few cases where the water level drops in a system, and it gives them a notice before it gets down more than a few inches. What we've used it for quite a bit is during troubleshooting, and I actually have on my phone, I can log into everyone's account and see what the history is. And so if they call with an issue, I can kind of go through, okay, well, this happened today, but it also happened yesterday and the day before. So maybe we got to treat it a little differently, or get more of a story built than when you're doing tech support on the phone. Sometimes the customer's language and mine isn't the same, and we don't get the same story across. So it helps just clear that up.
I've got a question. Someone asked, how cost effective are the bubble curtains, and also are they similar to the type of bubble systems you see in fish tanks?
So I mean, cost-wise, it's probably the cheapest thing that you can fix. If you look at like pumping and filters and chillers, and compare that with just fixing the oxygen system and upgrading it, it's going to be give you the best return on your dollar. And it's often where people will start when they're upgrading. I certainly encourage them to, because we can fix the chillers, but if your oxygen's low, I mean, it's not going to take you as far as it could. Are they similar to fish tanks? I mean, that's a hard question to answer. It's simply a curtain of fine bubbles rising through the water. So in a fish tank, you might have a stone like that long with fine bubbles coming up. So it would be similar to that, but we're just going end to end. So every lobster in the tank is getting that oxygen he needs.
Well, thank you for that, Philip. And I guess it's certainly been a pleasure working with you in the past. And I know that you've certainly exceeded all of my clients' expectations with the installations you've done for them. And thank you very much, Philip. And if there's any further questions, we'll certainly pass them on.
Yes, thank you, Peter.
Okay. And Philip was talking about the sensor systems on lobster tanks, and I think that leads well into our next panelist, who's Maura Fryer of Sedna Technologies. Maura is a consulting professional with a background in industrial engineering technology and a project manager at Sedna, and she's enjoyed her time working with the seafood and aquaculture industries here, and works directly with clients to analyze and diversify their business operations and provide technology-based solutions. For those of you who don't know, Sedna has installations around the globe now, and they specialize in a network of IoT, or Internet of Things sensors, and integrated or ERP business solutions with the goal to enhance and improve efficiency of operations. All right, I'll turn that over to you, Maura.
Great, thank you so much. Let's get geared here. How are we doing? Can you see my screen?
We're good.
We're good? Okay, well, thanks for having me today. Thanks to the sponsors and everyone who's joining. My name is Maura Fryer, and I'm the project manager with Sedna Technologies. So I'd like to talk a little bit about some of our automation and digitization of the seafood supply chain. So some of the industry challenges, we know the global seafood market is massive. It's expected to reach a value of 155 billion by 2023. So some of these seafood companies are missing efficiencies and collecting data with paper systems that are tedious, repetitive, and have high levels of human error. Additionally, it's no surprise that our labor shortage situation is challenging, predicted to get worse. So we've provided solutions that look at decreasing waste in terms of loss and mortality, but also decreasing those wasteful practices. Our mission is to craft innovative solutions that enhance and improve the seafood supply chain. We were built specifically to look at these issues here and find solutions. Our team has 7 full-time employees. We have 2 co-founders, Seamus McDonald and Alexander Stabino. We have an IT support specialist, a few software developers, a Norwegian partner, and then myself, the project manager. So the focus of Sedna is to provide technology-based solutions that are focused on traceability, real-time monitoring, and data analytics. So how do we do it? There's sort of 2 pillars to Sedna. One is our network of IoT sensors, and then the other side is our business applications and ERP. So first I'm going to chat a little bit about the IoT network and then talk about some of our business applications as well. So the focus of our IoT sensors, of course, is giving you real-time data and allowing you to monitor that data remotely. So you don't have to be at the facility in front of your tank to see what's going on. So we combine hardware with our customized mobile applications. So I'm really excited to talk about our Sensor Globe product that we've released into the market. So this is a wireless, flexible, robust sensor that takes a measurement of dissolved oxygen, temperature, pH, acceleration, and shock. So as Phil mentioned, the biggest killer in the industry can be dissolved oxygen. So we heard these challenges in the industry and built this specifically to address that. So this can be used in fish transfers, logistics, net pens, commercial fishing. We have them in the live wells for the lobster tanks. So we really built it to be a versatile unit that can be used all throughout the industry. Additionally, its value is that you can track it through an entire supply chain. So give it to the fishermen to keep on the boat and then keep this sensor with the product to get those analytics on how the product has been kept. Additionally, in our IoT network, we have other sensors for monitoring cold chains. So for freezers, fridges, trucks, air freight, we have lots of sensors kind of available there as well. So now I'm going to talk about some of our business applications. So we've built software for all levels and abilities in the supply chain. We didn't want to build software only for large enterprises. We know every organization is very unique and does things differently. So we are very able to customize to your needs. And our focus is providing technology that is very, very user-friendly. So Dockside is one of our modules that we offer. So it's basically digitizing those paper trail systems rather than that worker writing information on paper, sending it to the office, and then having someone in the office have to manually enter that into a spreadsheet. We streamline that entire process by providing a mobile application that worker can just directly input that information and the office gets it right away through our cloud platform. We've also automated the receipts that are given out to the harvesters. This system can also track the bait sales to the fishermen. And now that all this kind of data is being collected, we can automate that submission to the DFO about what was landed. And of course, there's a lot of back office reporting features alongside this as well. We also offer inventory management applications. So if you look at live lobster, you could log on to the dashboard anywhere and look and know exactly what you have in each tank. Additionally, what products are you holding in each tank? Where are you holding your chicks? Where are the quarters? Where's your ungraded lobster? And also tracking the movements of inventory. So once you have this, maybe you want to track in detail where it's going, what customers got what, or you want to really look at the vendors, who it came from. All that information is automated here. I want to make a note that sometimes when people think of Sedna, they think of RFID tags. That is something that some of our clients choose to use, but you don't have to use RFID tags to use our system. Think of it more as just digitizing paper trails. The other one that we do is payroll. So we've seen this work really, really well for some of our clients as the fishermen's cooperatives. This is managing all of the harvester payroll and vessel information. So for you, those listening who work in an office in this position, I understand the challenges of trying to manage who's on what boat, who's getting paid shares, who's getting paid this, who's paying CPP, income tax, all those like changing things we can completely control and track in our system. We've also automated T4s and ROE submissions to CRA. We've upgraded some clients from checking to direct deposit, so fishermen just getting paid directly into their bank accounts. And we're also capable of third-party integrations, perhaps integrating our system with an accounting software that you're currently using. Another innovation that we've done is we built a quality control app for fish processing. So this is was a client-led development. So someone came to us and said, we'd like to automate some of these QC control reports that we have to do. And then we built that out with them. So if you have an improvement idea for your organization, we'd love to hear from you. Maybe there's something that it's not adding a lot of value. You're spending 2 days a week manually entering in information that could be streamlined. Let us know. We really love to innovate and do new things in the industry. So having all of this in place, is going to help you stay competitive, increase the product control and integrity. And I think a big one for the labor shortage is helping attract a new generation into the industry. People are going to be more empowered to go to a company that's looking at process improvement, planning for the future, and they have this modern technology. It's going to be more appealing and help retain and bring new innovative thinkers into the industry. We work in all of Atlantic Canada, the Eastern US, Norway, New Zealand, and Australia. So in summary, the seafood market, we could be managing these species more efficiently. So we provide innovative technology-based solutions focused on decreasing waste. We want to empower our clients through modern technology to work smarter, not harder. And our team is growing and we're constantly innovating to help you better manage these valuable resources. So thank you for listening. Feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yes, thank you. It was very, very informative. I do have a couple of questions that have been brought up. You mentioned your cloud platform for collection and transference of data, from the wharf to the office. How do you address that in more remote communities that don't have high-speed internet and maybe 3G service or something, not even LTE? How do you address that?
Yeah, good question. So we certainly came across that pretty quickly when looking at technology in these areas. So for the cloud-based stuff, we build all of our apps to work offline so that user won't be restricted from going through with their operations. It'll simply log it, and then when they do come into a service area, it will upload to the cloud. So they're not restricted at all. And on the other side of things, for example, this globe, that's why we designed it to be wireless and it uses Bluetooth connection. So for those fishermen offshore, they'll have a way without cellular or access to internet to connect and see the readings on the device.
Okay. And You know, you're collecting a tremendous amount of information, and you've got clients all over the place now. I know you've done some work with Philip, and you know, complemented his systems with your sensor technology and so forth. So you're gathering all this information from a number of clients, and you know, I know you help them individually, but do you do aggregate data and analysis and provide further guidance to people, you know, really using AI applications?
You know, we provide custom analytics, like you said, to our customers through, you know, custom dashboards and reports that they've kind of asked, but it's really, you know, their data and their information. So in terms of us automating things outside of that, we haven't really done much there.
And well, I guess just to follow up on that, is there commonality for users of your sensors that are, you know, say they're running their lobster holding tanks is what they're monitoring? Do you see a lot of variation from one to the other, or do they all kind of have the same common issues?
I think, well, it changed. The most that I can kind of reflect on there is, you know, we do have clients in the States and New Zealand and Australia. So there's a lot of differences there with what their water is, maybe in the States or down under. But for around here, you know, it's, I don't see anything too different. Everyone's kind of in the same boat and with their water quality and those sorts of things.
Okay. And like I say, I know you've done some work with Philip. Is there other companies you're aligned with in Atlantic Canada that have adopted your technologies and offer them as part of their offerings?
Definitely, we're kind of expanding right now and kind of growing that network. But there are other folks, you know, like down on Cape Sable, Todd Sears. So people who do refrigeration and those sort of systems like Phil always seem to recommend our sensors going along kind of as a package with them. So yeah, and I think with our water quality sensors, we have over 170 clients using them now.
And this new globe you have, that's a recent innovation. I knew you were working on it, but how long has that been on the market now, and how has that kind of changed how you're going to, you know, use sensors going forward? Is this going to replace a bunch of them, or just be complementary?
A bit of both. So yeah, this has been on the market maybe for the last 3 months, but we've been kind of innovating and doing lots of pilots and trial projects over the last year and a half. But this is kind of built to be a plug and play sensor. So at some point, you know, adding salinity, ammonia and everything into it. So the goal of this was for an all-in-one sensor. As we've seen, what's currently in the industry is needing to have multiple sensors for multiple different parameters. So we really wanted to combine and make this like an all-in-one unit to be used in all of aquaculture and the seafood industry.
And I guess, you know, even though you've only had it in place for a few months, I would guess that there's challenges with where some of these fixed sensors have been placed, where you might get stratification or void spots in tanks and that sort of thing. Has this addressed that? Does this like bounce around the whole tank and give you readings from everywhere, or how does that work?
It's sort of up to whatever the application is. So you can kind of station it in one place in a tank, or some people want one unit that they choose to move around, or a lot of people like the idea of the fishermen taking it, putting it in their live wells, and then carrying that through with the product to see the data. Again, I think dissolved oxygen is something that people are realizing just how important that is to keep track of. So yeah, it depends, but it's, you know, up to them kind of where they want to use it. So, and there's 2 ways to connect. So through Bluetooth connection, you could just be near it and connect, or it can come with a gateway that will be connected to the cloud to allow for remote monitoring. So you'll always kind of have those 2 ways to connect with it.
Very good. I don't have any other questions at this point. Is there any final statements from you?
No, thank you. Just thanks for having me, and thanks for, if anyone has any other questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me.
Okay, well, thank you for your time today. It's certainly been informative, and Sedna has certainly come a long way in a very short period of time. And your new device is very, very innovative, and I think it's going to be a great value to people in the aquaculture and the live holding tanking system things. Thanks again. Hey. Our next panelist is Tim Fogarty from Area 52 in Moncton. Tim has prior experience working with automation companies to provide rapid prototyping processes and incorporates awareness and mitigation of risk into any of his developmental projects, providing clients the option for a go no go decision at any point during a developmental process. He has a team approach. I had the opportunity to meet his team of engineers. Well, it was pre-COVID. I guess it was about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. I had an opportunity to meet his team of engineers in Moncton, and they all have varied backgrounds, but all very applicable to the seafood sector. And they appear to work very well together and have come up with some very innovative solutions. But they offer numerous proven process solutions to clients, including several patented products. These include devices for shellfish processing, including a shell cutting and scoring system for lobster claws and legs, and whole shellfish splitting and washing. And their recent innovation, which is the automatic netting, which can be used for whole lobster, whether it's raw or cooked, and also some high pressure washing systems. They also focus on different material handling systems, conveying and pick and place using robotics and so forth. And like many of the other panelists today, they work using integrated monitoring of devices using the IoT and digitization for metrics and business analytics, which, and I think you're all getting the theme, is really a lot of the important things going forward with modernization. Anyway, with that, we will turn it over to Tim.
Hey, welcome everybody. It's Tim from Area 52. Some of you may know us, and some of you hope to know shortly. Area 52 is heavy automation into the seafood industry, not limited to the industry. We do also food. A lot of our products that we develop correspond to all food. So we're a little bit biased right now to the seafood industry, from crab, lobster, oyster, scallops, whatever you name it. And today, in a short little presentation, I'm going to try to walk you through exactly a little bit what Area 52 is about. I'm not a great presenter by nature, so forgive me, and we'll get at it. So the first part of Area 52, that's magic, is really, we're divided into 3 categories. Handling, how do you handle the product, and what are you looking to do? So mussels, different shapes, sizes, almost all the species in the seafood industry, even fish, the challenges are, nothing is stagnant in its size, shape, weight. So how do you create something that can hold something so dynamic and diverse? So that is the first part. What we do is we look at all the projects, and if I can't hold that product in automation, chances are whatever we're going to do to treat it is going to fail. We need to be able to hold it securely, reference it to something to do a proper treatment if it's going to be a treatment that needs some high tolerances applied to it. The next part is what are you treating? What are we doing to it, right? Do you need a high pressure wash system? Do you need to dip it, coat it, weigh it, dispense something? Is it a value add product? All those require different technologies on how you're going to apply to it. And then the third part is, once you've got your production line and your system in automation, how are you going to measure it? What is your metrics? You hear buzzwords like AI, digitization, visualization, all those things, especially in this coming years are a real big focus about having technologies help you manage the plant. We are involved in all three, and that's how we kind of look at a project and we go and create it. So the first part, material handling, robotics, pick and place systems, that's all within our wheelhouse to be able to go and take a look at one of your projects and say, how are we going to handle it coming off another process, handling it from a tote, a bin, how easily can a person get through it, what's your feed rates, your cycle rates, and how best do we treat it? And that's usually the first step. We look at all the engineering parameters, and then we make, of course in food, something very hygienic. It can be something like a material handling belt like this for this system. It could be some of the conveying where you have a cleated belt moving product up through and going on to another horizontal conveying belt for people to then treat the product. It could be as simple as something like this, right? Where your material handling after the process, moving up and going out to the elevator conveyor in one of our new systems, a netting line. All the material handling products that we produce are geared towards multiple industry and are actually, products. We can reconfigure it and we can customize it and tailor it to what you need, and we can overturn it really, really quickly to be able to prove results very fast. One thing that Area 52 is very good at is rapid prototyping, coming up with widgets and gadgets to be able to treat, test, and get you to the next step. And we believe that's pretty important. Then there's the process. So when we look at a project, we say, what's the treatment that has to go to it? What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to remove something? Is it a high pressure wash that you have to treat it with? Are you coating it, dipping it, weighing it? All these little processes can be repeated to be able to create your system, or actually the whole plant layout, right, from end to end. Something like this, which is doing cutting, all enclosed stainless steel. As soon as you open it, safety, relay switches go off, all secure. But you also have to recognize it needs to be easy to wash down. You guys spend a lot of time washing down, cleaning up. So all of our designs are all easy wash down. The whole lid can come off. You can high pressure everything. All our components are rated for it. Everything is NEMA 4X. So you can put all the hygienic treatment to it, unclip belts, soak it all easily so that everything is easily accessible for maintenance as well as for your end-of-day cleanup. Our material handling is also the same way. The guards here can either clip up, the belt can undo it. We have wash modes that you can go put it in, and then you can just go and hygienically spray it out. Our belting options, we can do matted, which is a little cheaper version. We can do modular, plastic modular, or we can do a little bit more expensive, extreme hygienic belts. So all these products are really geared around that. On the processing side, this is, for example, one process, is netting, our new netting line. So I was just giving this as a background, as an example for some of our development. Stainless steel, high wash down, all of our products are. Easily modular, you can go and undo this and it'll unclip as well as get through the back, and you can wash the whole thing out. All accessible. All of our designs are very, very similar, with keeping in mind how to maintenance and how to wash down a system very, very easily. For this netting system, we also have the material handling that would come in with totes, as well as the exit. We also do pneumatics. This is an example of a system where you just chuck it in and it nests them off. Pneumatics, electrical panels, all the controls, we design everything right from scratch. So whatever your project is, we can take it from zero to hero, working with the government, working with ourselves and yourselves in a win-win-win scenario. So I strongly believe for a small seafood industry, for a segregated part like lobster, Atlantic lobster, it has to be a win-win scenario where the government wins on creating us, the plants competitive in the industry and automated, as well as reducing some of the imported labor and hiring more talent, higher-end talent to keep care of the automation. The customer obviously is labor savings, usually with some yield or quality improvements. And for Area 52, it's usually about the recurring revenue, support, and relationships on reinvesting into the development. So what we do is pretty complicated. We have our struggles. We're definitely not perfect, but we tend not to abandon. We drive it and push it, and that's what has to take place in order to get that last 10%, especially in a high volume industry. So you can get something working in automation 90% with just as much effort as trying to get the last 10%. So it can be a struggle sometimes, and we work with the customers to push it in and work through that last 10% until we get, products that are very effective. All of our systems, I generally try to plan a 1-year payback is generally what we try to quote and what we look at for looking at your product. So we do obviously look at the financials, how many people are saving, what are the yield qualities, or maybe it's just a talent base that you don't even have that talent and you have to automate, or it could be a safety issue. Out of all of those, we'll go and assess your project, and I don't start a project unless I'm confident that we can achieve your ROI or payback. And even the aftermath on the support side, we will continue giving you updates, upgrades, knowledge as we learn it. And so where our interest in relationships is the ongoing relationship, where we're your technology provider to the industry and trying to make you as competitive as can be. And the last part that we're really engaged in is digitization, or what you call Internet of Things. This is a really important play for us. We are pushing products coming out this May. We have pilot projects going on with some other customers. And what we essentially do is all of our equipment come IoT enabled, which means you buy the system, you buy our material handling, you buy anything, it comes pre-configured for IoT enabled, as well as the modules can be put into your current process to be able to monitor, extract all that data. What it does is extracts all that data for us to analyze and come back with recommendations on how to best run your plant. Here's the nutshell, easy way of looking at it. If you're familiar with the economy, the stock market, traders, and trying to make split-second decisions on the economy, what they do is you have multiple businesses, whole bunch of financials, technology, consumer staples, all these industries that feed back into a banking system that people have to decide what sector is going up, who is the cause of that sector going up, what percentages are they having an effect on it, what is my business decision on whether to sell, buy, hold, all those stocks. It's a heat map is one of the tools, and it gives you a visual indicator right away. What sector is going up? What sector is going down? Who's the culprit? Who's the big player? Where should you be looking? And how to make your quick business decisions. What we are developing is exactly the same thing for the seafood industry and all manufacturing. What we're doing is quick for your supervisors, your managers, even the owners can look at their phone, tablet, website, whatever utility that they want, and have a quick snapshot of exactly how their plant is doing within a threshold. If it's green, color-coded, you're making money. Everything's good. There's no systems that are down, people are where they're supposed to be, and everything is fine. Maybe if it color codes down to orange, maybe that process in a certain part, in a certain building, has been down for 10 minutes. As it goes through more, maybe it's been down for 30 minutes or 2 hours. What it does is it gives an instant visibility for the business decisions to be made in the plant, to then know what is your productivity, what's your utilization, what is your preventative maintenance, what's your preventative maintenance schedule, what should the guys be doing today, what should they be doing monthly? Maybe they soak the belts monthly, and maybe they got a high pressure wash at night. What is your consumable usage? How do they replace it? It encompasses all of this plant management. And the way it does is it grabs all the metrics from your plant floor. When you grab the metrics from the plant floor, there's no need to go get 2,000 parameters from a system. This system here, when you have an issue with it, you go diagnose it at the system. It has an HMI, PLC controls, all built in for those diagnostics. What you're interested in when it comes to data management and digitization, is it running? How many people do I have it running? What's the human migration? How are people moving in and out? What's that fluctuation? Is there product on the floor? All those production metrics and reliability metrics is all you need to extract. This is what this device does with third-party systems and with our system. And it puts it into something along this lines. This is magic. Something along this lines where you have all this graphs and quick data that you can drill in and you can drill out from your quick snapshot to a level of details that can at least point you in the direction of, oh crap, I forgot to put ice in my slurry and the slurry temperatures are rising. There's a predictive analysis portion to it as well. With AI and the predictive analysis, based on the humans running it, the staff running it, and what your production throughput is, when they call in sick, as they migrate to another process, when they leave a system idle, it can predictive analyze when your production is going to be completed for that day. So if you're running, 50,000 pounds of something, and as the day adjusts and migrates, it'll adjust that time sequence for you to say, hey, instead of ending at 5 o'clock estimate, you're now going to end at 7 o'clock. This is a big project for us, and we are going to tackle it pretty heavily this year. And it's pretty cool products that we developed. We developed it right from the ground up. You don't need Wi-Fi. It can go building to building. We developed it on purpose because you guys have a lot of concrete walls and just the environment. And I think it will have a massive impact. We're doing it as pilots so that people can actually see that impact and do the trials. So stay tuned for that. That's coming when you start working with us for Area 52, or if that's an interest. You'll see that these tools will significantly help your plant managers. We've been involved in many of the plants, and even being on the production floor, it can get chaotic. Something like this can just simply point them and help them in the right direction, and your savings will be dramatic. Massive case studies that we can go through. That's a big, long conversation. But if you're interested, info@area52.ca or tim@area52.ca, and just send me a note and we can go through it a lot more in depth. But take a look at that on the digitization. It is a part of production and manufacturing that is the forefront of most innovation coming out in the current days. So yeah, you can take a look at that in this short little video. order today, and if you order now, you can not only get a system, you could get a free hat. And if you press dial right now, I will double your offer with 2 free hats. Shipping may be extra.
Well, Tim, that was very good. I like the humor at the end, and I definitely love the soundtrack.
Oh, there you go. Had to put people up.
Anyway, just a few questions came up. You stated that you don't need Wi-Fi. How do these systems communicate from a building outside the office to the office so that the analytics can be monitored in real time?
Yeah, so a lot of our customers, they'll have a Wi-Fi host, say, in the main office, and then they'll have, multiple buildings, say, for example, the holding tanks or, other processing areas. And a lot of our clients as well, the big concrete walls and the washdown, it makes those signals hard to go through. So we implemented a technology, a radio technology. So you don't need the Wi-Fi for those nodes to all talk to each other. They roughly have about 2 to 10 kilometer line of sight. Even over ocean can go a little bit longer. And if you don't have Wi-Fi at all, we can use a module for a cell network. So one host will connect all the nodes, and then all the nodes get put onto, the conveying systems, our systems. They adopt to pretty much anything. We grab those metrics and then broadcast them up for analytics.
And that really operates in real time or near real time, does it?
We do, yeah. Generally, we're every 5 minutes cycling, but we grab the data. We don't miss any sensors. So a little bit similar to the previous presentations, we do have the ability to put it in memory. So say under every 5 minutes we'll store, but there's no need to broadcast all that real-time data. We could, if we wanted to, go a little bit lower, but for now it's just every 5 minutes. But it'll grab every sensor within whenever they trigger.
And your prototyping time frame, for moderate level technology like your lobster socking system or bagging system there, how long did that take from concept to delivery?
So we do a multitude of complicated products. If it's something like a simple conveyor, we turn around those pretty quick. Simply change widths, what are you holding, transport. Those are pretty short timeline, little developments. Something complicated like these patented systems where you're doing cutting or netting, we go through a process, trying to figure out rapid prototyping, mitigate the risk with trying to tackle the hard problems first as a unit test. So usually that's a couple of months. If that's kind of a pass and a go, we feel comfortable to bring it to the next step and the next investment, we'll bring it up to a first off prototype. That's usually another few months. And then if that goes well as a unit test trial, and then we test it into the plant, and of course there's always rework, and we bring it back before we get to commercialization. So a project like that is almost better pace of a year. So our next projects for the industry and development, we're starting now. And we would have, hopefully, usually we try to plan in the fall to be unit testing those products to try to be launching them around this time frame as a cycle.
And with developmental projects like this, once you've got it to market, do you find there's still constant improvements being done as you learn more from the analytics, and how are those improvements? How does that translate into upgrading of systems at the plants? How does that work with your firm?
Yeah, so for us, we quickly realized, developing something from scratch, especially for something like the lobster industry, or, we're looking at crab and oysters, that hasn't been developed, you have to push. There is no other alternative. So again, we're not 100% perfect, but you do have to push. So say if we install a system, even our original claw systems, we've been supporting those and installing upgrades all the way through. So we do have service agreements put in place specifically to support the ongoing development for those. And all of our designs always go off the base system. So we always allow for extra widgets, gadgets, and further down the line processing. So we kind of look ahead. That's usually when we tackle a project, say in a new industry, we try to encompass all of it right up front so that we can allow some design modifications and changes kind of built in and easy, ready to go. So it's an ongoing support. It's more for us about the customer relationships, and because of that, right? So if we drop something and kind of walked away, I'm pretty sure a lot of that stuff would struggle, right? It is a high technology. So some people need a little bit more hand-holding than others. And then that's why we have a team. That's all they do, is they just go around plant to plant supporting as a service agreement. And the IoT is an augmentation of that, so that then we really know how those performances are doing, and are they performing at where they should be, and what's going on in that plant, so we can address it and help them.
And you know, with this advanced analytics and so forth, if you find a software solution, you know, because these are obviously smart pieces of equipment, can you upgrade through the cloud? You know, I just think of, you know, like the Tesla model, you know, when your car is parked and plugged in and they want to send out an upgrade, they just send it to all the cars.
Yeah, the way we designed it is, say if this system attaches to a third-party system, right? We designed it in a way where I don't have to go to that supplier, or I don't have to go and ask permissions for securities or something to get into their PLCs or software, right? But I still want to get those metrics. Or say there's a blueberry conveyor on a farmyard or something, right, that I want to collect it. It has no PLC, it has no controls, but I want to know, you know, hey, quickly add something with a sensor to do the counting that gets me those metrics in those plants. So we really designed it standalone, locked down, and not to impede on anybody's current process or equipment. So it doesn't affect their process. The last thing I want to do is add something that may affect the performance of some piece of equipment. And then, but I can collect it, I can get it, I can splice those signals, those data, I can get all of it. On the back end of it, we can change anything for the data manipulation, the timings, the firmware. Generally, we do that right on site. It's just a closed system except for the encrypted broadcasting.
Okay. And with this advanced data analytics and really the artificial intelligence that you're developing, when do you anticipate to be testing that, and when would you think you'd get it to market?
They're in testing now. So we're on our last prototype, I guess, commercialization phase right now. So those products are in the plants, they are running. We're increasing the amount of pilots and people that are interested all throughout the seafood industry. We should have quite a large install of these by fall. So we are testing. So I would assume, you know, late fall, the value on showing all those analytics and how, you know, product loss from one process to another, different performances, how we, you know, can help one client versus another, should really come to light, I would say, late fall.
Very good. And you'd mentioned about the maintenance schedules and so forth. Do you see this information dovetailing with people's existing preventive maintenance schedule softwares and so forth?
Yeah, exactly. There's many systems that are out there. You know, the McCain's or the Irvings, you know, they have these high-tech systems. This is more geared towards the small mid-tier, where it's simplified. All that information comes back, but it's simplified for them to make those business decisions. So alerts can go to them and message them just simply on their phone, where it can guide them. Hey, did you know you have 6 extra people on the line that aren't doing anything? Or this, you know, throughput on this production has been down. And then part of that preventative maintenance is, because we know the life cycles of those equipment usages or time frame, we can also then send the reminders and alerts as well to say, you know, hey guys, we noticed you did, you know, 1,500 kilometers on the belt. It's probably time to grease the bearings, right? Or soak the belts, or do whatever. So it's what I find in the plants, it gets chaotic and busy, especially coming up soon. And so supervisors and stuff are rushing around, and sometimes these little visual text messages or cues, or even something like the heat map, can quickly guide them and alert them so that some portion of the plant is not getting neglected, right, and maximizing those performance.
And does that analytics, does it increase over time and just get better and better the more information that it's got and the more years it's in the plant?
Yeah, exactly. So what we're doing is the second part of this, it won't be ready for fall, but the second part of this is the AI and a lot of that predictive analysis. So what happens now is you take that data and say, how did you perform? And we also have sensors that does human migration. So in a lot of these plants, people move around everywhere, right? It's not like somebody may stay in one spot for a while, for a couple hours. They may go do a cleanup in another location. So then what's your true ROI on that process, right? What happens when everybody calls in sick, or you have short labor? How does that affect your production schedule? You bought so much product, you got to produce it. So this predictive analysis based on your production throughput would just automatically adjust your time schedule. So then you can start understanding and seeing your bottlenecks, like say, hey, I'm cooking at this rate, but I lost 4 people today on this process, and I'm going to have I'm going to overwhelm that process or underwhelm it, right? And it just helps those visual cues on the management. That's where the AI kind of comes in, as well as the AI can come in on what went wrong today on your yields, and then go correlate for me what happened. So it can go correlate and say, well, geez, we noticed your productivity is down, but you lost 2 people in the afternoon on that process. Well, of course it went down. Or yields are wrong. Well, it's because maybe it's correlated to the temperature and your cooking and your chilling, right? That fluctuated, right? So it can go and try to digest that data automatically. The key is to try to present it to owner supervisors, even as they're on this call, could get a message that simply says, hey, you have a lot of people around your process right now. That's odd. Something's odd. It's out of place from where you're expecting to manage your plant, and give those cues for them to go address and follow up.
So, well, yields, of course, are essential in profitable plant management. So I'm just trying to visualize how this works. So, if you've got a target yield of say 65, and for this day, we know it's down to 62. So I'm visualizing, I'm down 3%. Well, if it does the analysis for you, so it'd say, well, your cooker temperature variance was this, which could have contributed to it, and your chiller variance was this. So it'd do that analytics for all the processes, so that it would basically help me understand exactly what went wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It could, and yield could be affected in multiple ways, right? It could be product loss that you dropped on the floor from one process to another. So what's the inconsistency? If you cook so many pieces and you're running so many pieces from the next one, where did it go, right? Is it all there and even accounted for in the first place, right? Or are you overcooking and drying the product out, and that's when you're reporting on your yield? So you can go back and make those correlations, right? And even in your R&D testing, right? Because everybody experiments in their plant. Or you buy a piece of new equipment. Well, how did that performance? How did it affect my plant, right? So all these, in order to do any of that, you need to have those KPIs and those metrics, and those KPIs and metrics, not just from my equipment, but every equipment, right? Everywhere in the plant. So that's why we developed this technology as more of a plug and play device that can go into pretty much anything. If you don't have it, fine. We add the sensors and we put the module in. If you do have it, we can connect to it, splice off your sensors, get the readings, and it all comes back to one platform. Then to be able to really understand how you're running day to day and what changes you did in your plant that can really make dramatic things go, happen one way or another, right? So.
Very good. Well, Tim, I don't have any other questions at this point, but I certainly wanted to thank you. And, it's been interesting to watch the growth in Area 52 over the last number of years. I think it's been tremendous. But my own experience with you and with my clients who have purchased your equipment, I've been particularly impressed with your client service side of things. And I think that's reflected in your attitude of admitting this is developmental and constantly needs improvement. And that's a good approach to have. And I think, that customer service attitude, would be good for all suppliers to adopt it to make inroads in the Atlantic Canadian seafood business, because it certainly is a small business and all of us talk. So, any bad reviews of a supplier certainly go around really quick. So anyway, thank you very much for your time today, Tim.
Hey, thanks everybody.
All right. Our next panelist today is coming from us from Norway. So his name is Andre Lillebakk, and he is the director of IoT at Meritech Systems. And of course, Meritech has an office in Halifax as well as other places in North and South America and Europe. His background, he has extensive experience in IoT, automation, and business process improvement. Provides us with strategic and operational insights to improve clients' operational businesses. Some of their solutions include systems for aquaculture cages, production and processing facilities, land-based farming and smolt hatcheries, where sensors, automation, and insights from IoT are particularly important, and where radical improvement can be realized through these controls. A longer-term initiative recently launched is the Meritech Eye, which is a hyperspectral camera, and that enables automated whitefish species identification and quality analysis at unprecedented operating speeds. Anyway, with that, I will turn it over to you, Andre.
Thank you, Peter. Let's see. Yes. So, hi everyone, and thank you for spending time listening to us today. My name is Andre Lillebakk, and I'm Director of IoT in Meritech. And I've spent most of my life driving for new technology. And I've been working with IoT and digitalization since the early 2000s. And I must say, it isn't as complicated as it sounds. It might actually be something as easy as placing a wireless battery-driven sensor in your factory or connecting at scale to the internet. In addition, you have a lot of equipment which is already IoT ready, and we can connect to it. Meritech is the world-leading provider of seafood software. With our over 500 customers, we have gained 45 years of innovation within seafood, logistics, and IoT. We are 110 highly skilled employees here in North America, Chile, Norway, Iceland, and Sweden. We are investing heavily in our IoT platform, Linsight. And at the last years, we have experienced a rapid growth. We're now up to 140,000 sensors connected and counting. I have a short video here.
Meritech is a leading provider of software solutions to the largest seafood companies worldwide. We know seafood, and we know its challenges. We create software with the scent of seafood. Digital Seafood is our cloud portfolio of tools supporting your value chain. An open, best-of-breed solution built on the latest technologies tailored for the seafood industry that easily integrates with your existing solutions. Digital Seafood supports your operational processes, gives insight, offers easy ways to collaborate and control margins and quality across the value chain. You fully control and trace seafood from origin all the way to market. We create Digital Seafood tailor-made for the seafood industry.
Yes. So we see that end customers is increasing their demands for documentation, both within food quality, food safety, and sustainability. With good documentation of the data you already have accessible, potentially supported by some IoT sensors, we could solve this without too much manual workload. Good tools and systems could help you to turn this from being an extra workload to give you better margins. So, how could data drive growth and innovation? We believe it's a matter of doing things right, doing the right things, and doing new things. By automated work processes, we reduce human error and increase consistency. And you will be able to do faster and more well-informed decisions based on well-documented insights. My opinion is that big data and artificial intelligence can contribute significantly to insights into production parameters and help optimize production to increase output and reduce loss. This together will ensure new growth through better understanding of product bottlenecks, reducing time to corrective adjustments, and increased throughput from several small adjustments. There's so much valuable data in many parts of the value chain already, from farming and wild catch all the way to logistics and distribution. But today I will focus on the segments between its landing, packing, and processing. And here there's a lot of data to look into. In a typical production, there's loads of data. For example, there's temperatures in the production facility, there's yield, shift plan for personnel, quality control for the fish, conveyor belt speed, and at its simplest form, it could be actual state of a label printer. We in Maritech, we are specialized in connecting to all this information through our IoT platform, Linsight, who enables the possibility to already existing machinery and equipment in many situations. From there, we could visualize and control both from tablets, phones, laptops, and we can enable alarms if values exceed thresholds or if a machine has an unintended stop. Further, we can make machines in a different type communicate together, parallel to all data being collected to our digital seafood cloud, where we can combine human-made data with machine-made data in digital seafood analytics. We then compare performance through production and help you optimize your production line across different machines and equipment. All this to help you gain a smoother workday and ensure increased production and more profit. IoT can sound complicated, but we have many good examples of small actions that can help you to reduce your workload. One of the stories I like to use as an example is one of our customers who need wet ice through the day to ensure production don't stop. And to ensure this, he has the ice production running 24/7. The janitor at this customer, he had a routine every night before he went to bed, where he logged on to his home computer, to TeamViewer, to the ice production PC, and check if the production was running, so they had enough ice to start the production line the next morning. By connecting this machine to Linsight through already existing equipment with the customer, we help to reduce the janitor's workload to receive a SMS or an email instead when something has stopped, and he can now do corrective measures directly from his phone or tablet in Linsight instead of traveling to the factory in evenings. I think this is a good example of small IoT actions who actually make a huge difference in your workday to save you from unnecessary workload. There's also certain data who can't be collected by the machine or a sensor yet, and some checks should actually be done manually. And sometimes we think this is also very valuable when we can then combine human-made data with machine-made data and give us brand new insights. And that's it for me. If you have any questions, I'm here to help you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Andre. That was very interesting. I wanted to ask you about, the traceability systems that you provide. As I'm sure you're fully aware, traceability system requirements are are constantly changing, mostly due to regulator legislative changes in different countries, with Europe being particularly difficult in terms of paperwork and traceability. And also there's traceability requirements from particular clients. I guess, how have you addressed that, this ever-changing environment? How do the traceability systems, continuously be improved to meet the changing regulatory requirements?
Yeah. Yes, according to our global expansion, of course, we are continuously improving the traceability systems compared to the local authorities and the local demands. And we see that we now have a traceability solution that's actually covering most of the parameters that we need to trace in each of the locations that we are situated today. So it's ever evolving, and of course we are adjusting it every time that we have new demands.
Okay. Now, you didn't touch on your Meritech Eye, or this whole fish grading system. Here in Atlantic Canada, of course, we still land a lot of groundfish. Haddock in particular in Nova Scotia. I know this was a long time in the making, about 17 years, if I understand right. I know you were working with other research firms and before this ever got finalized. But can you talk a little bit about how that works and what the benefits are, and particularly the operating speeds that we're talking about for this equipment?
Yes, of course. I didn't include it in my presentation because it's not internationally released yet. We just released it for the Norwegian market and European market for now, but we're planning to release it for globally this year. So at the moment, the Meritech Eye, it's a hyperspectral based camera solution that can look inside the fish, the whole round fish, when it's on a conveyor belt. So it actually means that you could grade the fish and inspect the quality of it, blood spots, stains, amount of blood in each spot. And you can also see on fat levels, melamine spots on salmon, and a lot of more parameters, and rapidly increasing. We have a model on it, basically, that you said earlier, like the Tesla model. We're releasing new functionality on all the cameras we have in field for every week. So the camera is operating over the conveyor belts, looking inside the fish with light lines and a hyperspectral camera. And it's at the moment working on 60 fish a minute. So basically 1 fish a second that's passing through and being real-time analyzed and giving you a result back with a whole image of the fish, in addition to gives it a quality score based on set parameters for the type of fish that you're running. It also does, of course, species recognition and could sort species. Hope that was a little bit of information.
Okay, and the haddock business in Nova Scotia, there's a lot of this gets shipped out whole to the U.S. market, with smaller fish and lower quality fish perhaps being diverted to other uses or to processing. So maybe walk us through, once this is determined, the grade, and you said that you can set the parameters based on bruising size or blood spot size and that sort of thing. So it grades the length, it grades the quality. So what happens subsequent to that if I want them separated based on, say 3 thresholds of parameters?
Yeah, it's pretty normal to have 3 or 4 standards that you could sort them based on. And the whole idea about it is to actually sort out bad fish before it gets into the production line, and someone puts its hands on it and use less time for checking the fish and then putting it to scrap. So the machine should sort out all the bad fish at the early age. So we only have premium fish going to the premium products. And then the less graded fish can go to medium or standard industry products, and the scrap also goes directly to scrap before someone puts their hands on the fish. It can also be used on the landing side, on the when the boat comes in with the wild catch, so that you could actually use it to deal with the price with the fisherman. So instead of the fisherman selling you that this is 80% of that quality and 20% of that quality, it's something that could give you the 100% correct answer for each time it gets in, and you can agree on what the quality is.
Okay, and it gives you the species separation. And you know, sometimes we buy on different lengths of the fish too. So is it measuring the overall length? Like if I want, you know, 18 to 22 inch haddock is going to be worth this much money versus under 18 or something?
Yes, length and dimensions is of course possible to do. It's not one of our main parts, as the main focus for the product is to look inside the fish what the human eye can't see without opening the fish. So that's our main parameters that we're looking for. That could be coloring of the white meat, or it could be the blood spots, or like discussed earlier. But also, of course, we have the length and we have the dimensions of the fillet, and maybe in the future we also will have a theoretical weight that's actually quite correct based on the volume of the fish. But that will be something that will be released later on.
It's very interesting, and you know, I don't have. Oh no, I do have another question just popped up here. There was questions as to whether this hyperspectral camera can work on grading, looking inside lobster or crab.
Yeah, that's a question we had earlier actually, so that's fine. And it's yes, they have been using hyperspectral camera to look inside the crab to see how much meat's inside them. Our product at the moment, we haven't deployed those models to the camera yet, but it's the technology is there, and it will of course be possible. But our main focuses at the moment is whitefish and redfish, and then we will develop later. It will maybe be for chickens, it could be used for a lot of things. It's just about the software that we put into it. So yes, could be a very good opportunity.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Andre. And you know, with your North American office based here in Halifax, I think it's quite accessible to the participants, and most participants today, I'm sure, are members of the Nova Scotia Seafood Alliance, as Maritech is as well. Anyway, I want to thank you very much for your time today and coming to us from Norway.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, we did lose one participant today, which was Bain Bloy from Bloy Automation, and many of you will be familiar with him. Blaine is an agent for a number of equipment suppliers around the globe, and has worked in Canada and the US for a number of years, both with his own company, Bloy Automation, and previously with Morel Equipment. But Bain got tied up on a installation today, so he couldn't join us. But I certainly want to thank all the participants today for their participation, and I'd like to thank all of our sponsors and the minister and department staff that participated. And I want to give a special thanks to the staff of Perennia, who worked tirelessly, I must say, behind the scenes to put this all together. And they had a number of interactions with all of the panelists and myself to make sure that we could deliver this today without any hiccups. So again, thank you all for your participation. And the next seafood industry webinar is scheduled for April the 1st, and that's planning for climate change. So bring your bathing suits. And thanks again for your participation. And I trust we'll all have a successful 2021, and we'll put COVID behind us. Thank you very much.